Okay, so today we are going to be taking a look at the Sony Xperia Tablet Z and the iPad 4. It's going to be a very quick overview, just kind of stacking up the two devices and see how they compare in terms of specs. Now, the first thing you're going to notice when you pick up the Xperia Tablet Z is just how light and thin it is. It's 495 grams and only 6.9mm thick, which is pretty astonishing when you consider that their Xperia Z smartphone is 7.9mm thick. And as for an aesthetic point of view, you can see that Sony is stuck with their quite angular and minimalistic design, which they've taken a liking to recently. As for the iPad 4, something you are going to notice after handling the Xperia tablet is that it is noticeably heftier. It's 652 grams in weight and 9.4mm thick, which is up on the Sony tablet in both respects. Apple is known for focusing a lot of attention on making their devices quite premium looking and feeling, so depending on what your preferences are and personal tastes are, this isn't necessarily going to be a killer point. Both tablets offer pretty respectable sounding cameras. The Xperia Z has a 2 megapixel front-facing lens and 8 megapixels on the back, and the iPad 4 has a 1.2 megapixel camera on the front and 5 megapixel lens on the back. Now these sound pretty good, especially the Xperia Z at 8 megapixels is pretty much unheard of on a tablet, but at the end of the day, tablets aren't built with taking photos in mind, so you will have to put up with some less than average results, particularly on the Sony, where you will notice upon zooming in and inspecting more closely that the photos are quite grainy. The iPad 4 is helped out slightly by the Retina display, which makes it look bold and brighter, and results are generally better. So if you are looking for a device to take photos on, you really should just invest in a camera, or at least buy a smartphone with a decent lens on it, which will produce pictures a lot better than a tablet. Let's take a look at the displays now. The Xperia Tablet Z has a 10.1-inch Full HD screen. It's 224 ppi, which does fall a little bit short when compared to its rivals, but you know, as you can see, it's still very clear, very sharp. One of the major gripes we had with the Xperia Z smartphone was that when viewed from certain angles, it did look quite washed out. Now, luckily, the tablet doesn't share the same issue. Sony have also included an anti-fingerprint treatment, which, although that sounds very nice, it doesn't really work as well as hoped, and it's actually a bit of a fingerprint magnet. Now obviously with the iPad 4 you get the famed Retina display. You can see the difference this makes the moment you switch on the screen. The colour reproduction is superb. You get a very crisp, very sharp image. It's 264 ppi, you know, which tops the Sony Xperia Z. It's 9.7 inches across, and there's a clear difference in aspect ratio. The Xperia Z is obviously being created for watching movies and content in mind, and with the iPad 4, although the same might be true, you are going to get more letterboxing and images will look smaller overall. Much like with the Xperia Z smartphone, Sony has included Mobile Bravo Engine 2 in their tablet, which is there to optimise movies and pictures. So, in terms of processing power, the Sony Xperia Tablet Z has a 1.5 GHz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro chip with 2 GB of RAM, whereas the iPad 4 has a 1.4 GHz dual-core A6 chip with 1 GB of RAM. Now, both devices are very slick, very fast. One minor problem with the Xperia Tablet Z was that there was some very slight lag at times, and this was only really noticeable when switching between home screens. It's not a major problem, and it's likely a software issue specifically down to Sony's launcher, which means Sony will probably be able to address and fix the issue in upcoming updates. The entry-level Sony Xperia Tablet Z has 16 gigs of internal storage, and there's also a 32 gig model available. Meanwhile, the iPad 4 comes in 16, 32, 64 and 128, which obviously means you're getting more storage out of the box with the iPad. Saying that, the 128 gig model, you're looking in the excess of £600, which is, you know, a serious point to consider. The Sony also has the micro SD slot, which can support cards up to 64 gigs. So, you know, you have the potential for up to 96 gigs of internal storage here. So there you go, the new Sony Xperia Tablet Z and the iPad 4. Hopefully this will have given you a little bit of a better idea of how the two devices compare and what each has to offer. You can check out our top 10 tablet PCs article over on Tech Radar to see how we ranked the Sony Xperia Tablet Z, and also stay tuned for our full review.